June 21st, 2022, and this is a meeting of the Shrewsbury Conservation Commission. Our first item is to review and approve minutes. Ken?
Make a motion, we approve minutes from April 18th, 2017, June 20th, 2017, September 19th, 2017, November 21st, 2017, and December 19th, 2017.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have one comment on the minutes of 11/21, 2017. On page 2, there is a reference to a comment by a Ms. Frankian. Her first name is Kara with a K.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Chris, you're recusing yourself.
Correct.
Second item, sign bills. There are no bills tonight to sign. Third item, meetings and hearings. The first item is a continued public hearing. It's regarding the amended notice of intent filed by 7 Sherrill Realty Trust for the construction of an access roadway, sidewalk, and utilities at 581 to 587 South Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Scott Goddard, Goddard Consulting, and Rashid Sheikh, the applicant. So we have, I think we're at the conclusion, hopefully, tonight of a long road that has led us to a spot where we are seeking an order of conditions that would be all-encompassing on this site of whatever was remaining from a prior order of conditions with a prior owner, coupled with a new road design, coupled with the proposed lot layouts, all with improving the stream crossing that is out there right now, which is currently a culvert, to a full stream crossing standard, and doing wetland replication that we've identified and discussed at the last public meeting. And then we showed you the houses proposed outside of your local preferred setback. So those were the elements that we reviewed at the last meeting. And I think with the issuance of this new order of conditions, if we can get to that point, the other item I'd like to discuss with the board is obtaining a partial or a release of the old order of conditions, so that's no longer kind of floating out there. It's not really applicable anymore to this site project and shouldn't be tracked with the title because it will be all superseded by this new request. I don't think we've received any other feedback from the board or Mr. Truman that would be substantive to this discussion, but anything that has come to the board in their thoughts or whatever since the last meeting, we're happy to discuss. We sort of dumped a lot of information on you last time and needed some time to have the board to digest everything. So that's where we're at.
Okay. When you said the culvert was upgraded to a full stream standard culvert?
Yes.
No bottom. It's an open bottom, is that correct? Is that?
So what we're proposing to do is remove the existing culvert, which is a circular culvert. I think it's an 18-inch, 15-inch. So it's an undersized culvert. And then the stream crossing standards require you to have 1.2 times natural bankful width intact. So we delineated the stream channel on the up gradient and the down gradient side to identify its full width. Okay. And then could measure 1.2 times that, create a culvert that was that full width. That can be done with either a 3-sided or a 4-sided boxed culvert is the most efficient way to do it for this type of a stream channel. In addition to the overall width, we have to meet an openness ratio to allow enough light penetration for the passage of wildlife, both so they can see the light coming through the culvert, but also have those edges along the banks. Right now we have designed this to be a 4-sided box culvert. And in this particular situation, I think it's a preferred design element. Keep in mind, we're removing an entire sort of substructure of retaining walls, culverts, and everything. We're ripping everything out and starting afresh. So this gets laid directly on a stone bed and is buried 2 feet into the ground. So the entire base of that fourth side of the culvert is invisible to wildlife, plant life, and the water as it passes through. So the idea is for it to be basically uninterrupted. And it doesn't require any footings like you would typically see in a three-sided box culvert. So I think that's a preferred design in this case. That's how the design engineer looked at it. And, you know, if it's all the same with the commission, I think that we'd like to continue with the four-sided box culvert design.
All right. Martha, do you have questions?
Just so to clarify, you're looking at increased stability with the four-sided box culvert because of all of the large size and the weight that it needs to carry?
Oh, yeah, the whole base structure sits on a bed of stone, yeah. So
Okay.
it's a very, you know, rigid design structure. And then the road will sit right on top of that and bear its load.
If I may add, Rashid Sheikh, actually our engineer has discussed that with the town engineer as well. It really, this is we were looking for least disturbance and more stable. And honestly, because it's 2 feet embedded, you know, really not visible at all, but it's more stable with the length 40 feet and all that. And I think both engineers agreed that this is a good solution.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
You all set?
Mm-hmm.
Ken?
Did you show the T-poles and perk tests on your plan?
Yes, sir.
Shown?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So Ken? Chris?
No questions.
Andy?
No, I say, since this isn't a real true stream crossing, you know, they're basically digging everything out. I think the full box culvert, you know, makes sense. It's a bit more structurally sound, so I would agree that the four-side is better.
Okay. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing?
No questions. Yeah,
Yes, can you stand up, state your name and address, please?
sure. David Long, 570 South Street, so I'm in a butter on the, what would that be, the west side. I apologize for not having come to prior Conservation Committee sessions on this, but could there just be clarification of what is the request here that requires Conservation Committee? I mean, I realize the existing land has this bridge that was built by somebody else.
What triggers this filing? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, that's what I'm.
It's essentially anything within 100 feet of a wetland resource, of which there are some on this parcel,
Right,
triggers that they create a notice of intent and bring it before the Conservation Commission, and that's what Rashid has done. And once we close the hearing, we would issue an order of conditions or deny it, depending on the outcome of the
Mhm.
vote. So that's,
and in terms of the brook that goes through, you know, this culvert, what will be a culvert, and the surrounding old growth around that, the plans as they now exist sort of recognize that old growth. The only sort of destruction of that area is gonna be right around this culvert, this bridge? Because I know
well,
restoration.
there are a number of houses being
restoration-
built there. It's a small subdivision, so, you know, there are houses being put in, and really what we're here to do is just to protect the wetland resources.
Yeah,
So if you're talking old growth as in trees and things such,
just in the wetland area.
yeah,
there.
anything in the wetland area, we've covered. And I'm not sure what number hearing this is, Rashid, have you kept track?
Yeah,
This has been a long process, I think.
Almost a year and a half.
Is it a year and a half now?
Yeah.
He-
And
he
for the
has-
benefit of public, currently it was done under another order for 15-inch culvert, and you guys want to protect, and, you know, the question was asked on the, you know, stream standards. So now it's going to 8 feet,
Right,
from 15-inch to 8 feet and 4 feet, so it's,
yeah, this is an improvement over what was originally proposed, so it's
correct.
been a long haul, this whole process.
The remaining wetland in that area is not gonna be disturbed, correct?
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? All right, I don't see any, so we will close the hearing.
thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Should we discuss what you want to do about the old order of conditions that was issued to the prior owner? We had requested along the way a certificate of compliance on that, and I think it could be appropriate just to sign that, you know, get rid of that, effectively issue a certificate of compliance noting that the work was not ever fully completed.
Right.
You know, and then that takes it off the books as far as the title of the lot goes. And then this new order takes its place, in a sense.
Is there a way to withdraw it at this point? Or is that not possible because a order was issued?
Because an order was issued. But there's an option under the certificate of compliance that you could, you know, you can get one that says the work was never started. That's one of the options
All
to
right.
issue a COC. So, but even though partial work was done, there could be some language maybe in there that, you know, how administratively, however you
Yeah,
all see it.
I would think a partial is probably the way to do it, because, yeah, it's not like the work wasn't started, but I think a partial would be the appropriate, so
All right.
I can.
And then make reference over to this new
Yeah.
one? Okay.
That sounds
No,
good,
that sounds good.
yeah.
Weren't there two on this one? I think there were two.
Well, and then we withdrew,
Withdrew the
what
other
we
one.
did withdraw was,
Yep.
in this proceeding, we had two applications at one time. One of those has been withdrawn, that's already been taken care of,
Correct,
right?
yep.
Yeah, okay,
that
I
one-
think we're good.
Okay, good.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, there were actually two certificate of compliance, because the way they did it is like two parcels. So just administratively make sure that both numbers are mentioned in there.
Okay, yeah, well, I'll look into it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we have another continued public hearing. It's regarding the notice of intent filed by Cypress Ave Development Partners LLC for the construction of 66 townhouse-style senior housing units with accessory clubhouse, access driveway, stormwater management facilities, and associated site grading at 1 Greenbrier Drive and 255 Gulf Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the applicant, John Grenier, J.M. Grenier Associates. Actually, I saw my client walk in. He should be coming into the room any minute now. At our last hearing, there was a request to have the town's consultant, here's Steve now, consultant wetland scientist review some sections of the bordering vegetated wetland associated with this project. Our wetland scientist, Matt Morrow, I believe, talked to the town's consultant after he had been out there, and there was some confusion as to what series of flags that should have been looked at. There's two sets of flags. There are the set of flags that were hung by Waterman Design, which are associated with the permit that was granted by your board for the cul-de-sac for Greenbrier Drive. The second set of flags which were hung for this application was for a continuation onto what was a landlocked parcel on the southerly portion of the site. So there were blue flags associated with Waterman, there were pink flags associated with what Matt Morrow flagged. The blue flags, which were part of the Greenbrier cul-de-sac, those are part of the plan set that was approved on the order of conditions for the cul-de-sac. The new set of flags flagged by Matt Morrow is for the southerly portion, which was a separate landlocked parcel. So I believe after it was walked by the town's consultant, there was a discussion with Matt Morrow. There was a little bit of confusion. And I believe that we just want to air out that the section of flags that the town was looking to have walked were the ones that aren't officially part of, they aren't locked in under an order conditions. It's for the southerly portion, the southerly site that was landlocked. So I believe, I think that if we can have the town's consultant talk to our consultant, maybe they can go out and make sure that they're looking at the right set of flags. If there's any other areas that that the town would like them to look at, they can look at the same time. So I don't think that portion, there was some confusion, so I don't think that has been finalized yet. So that was item number 1. From the last hearing also, there was a request from your board to get some clarification on the number of crossings that can be associated with a limited project. As you know, we do have some filling associated with the long access drive that heads in a southerly direction. So there is some filling associated with this driveway, and then there's some filling associated with access to the easterly portion of the site. So Matt Morrow, who is our wetland consultant, he reached out to the reviewing agent over at DEP Central Region and asked him the question, with a limited project, is there a maximum number of crossings? Or typically the threshold is 1, if you can get access through another location, if you have control of another piece, if you formerly owned another piece, try to avoid it. If you can't get in from a different location, a different way, have the crossing the minimum as would be allowable under planning board regulations for the minimum width of the driveway, minimum disturbance, and then thirdly, whatever gets disturbed, you should be replicating. So with that, the conversation and I believe we provided, it was late this afternoon, a memo from Matt Morrow basically detailing the conversation he had with DEP, saying there is no maximum number of crossings as long as you keep it to the bare minimum that you need for safe vehicular access, for width of access, and the threshold is 5,000 square feet, then you get into a different, you have to go into Army Corps, and it's a bigger type of process. So we're under the 5,000 square feet. We don't have the ability to get into the property or all parts of the property from any other way, so we minimized the crossings, and we're replicating. So we did, for the record, give some documentation from that clarification that we had gotten from DEP. I'm not sure if the town has reached out to DEP to get some clarification, but that's what we were able to obtain from DEP. And then thirdly, there was a question about the floodplain. We did get a copy of the flood analysis that was done for the adjacent property. We submitted a copy of that, and the elevations that we are proposing with this project, I believe the lowest basement elevation is about 6 or 7 feet above what that floodplain elevation was determined to be by that flood analysis. And the lowest foundation, top of foundation, first floor would be, in the range of 11 or 12 feet above that floodplain elevation. So we are going to make sure that we're going to be doing some modifications to some grading, and we're going to make sure that no portion of any of the grading within the site is under that floodplain elevation. So we're going to be completely 100% out of it. There wouldn't be any filling of it, replication of it at all. We're going to stay completely 100% out of that. And I also, in my investigation, talked to the abutter who had that flood study done, and they're not required to have, based on that flood study with FEMA, they're not required to have flood insurance There's no requirement for anything FEMA-related for the abutting property that this flood study was based off of. So, again, we just want to make sure that we're held to the same standard of what was allowed for the abutting property. And again, we're well above any floodplain elevation by 7 or 8 feet. So we feel comfortable with that analysis that was done, and obviously it was approved by this commission, and also it was approved in terms of not requiring the owner of the abutting property to have flood insurance. So those were the 3 big items that we walked away from the last meeting. One additional thing in terms of making sure that we have, with opening up the site in terms of during construction, erosion control and stormwater management. We're in the process. I talked in detail and met with a site contractor that we work with quite a bit on large projects, and we're putting together a detailed protocol to make sure that we don't have any issues during any large storm events. A couple of those items would be any of the stump grindings that will be generated once the tree clearing is done and they're prepping the site. We would armor inside of all of the silt fence and hay bales. We would armor the entire length along the wetland with a continuous row mound of stump grindings, which those work very, very well. And then when we're bringing the site between the cuts and fills, on the wetland edge of the fill, we'll be ensuring to leave a berm there and pitch everything back into the site, into the center of the site. And then we would have basically a long, probably a 20-foot wide channel where water would flow back into the site, and we could channelize it there. And then basically it would be an internal detention. And then if that were to overflow, we're going to, in the areas of the detention basins, pre-construct those, but a little bit higher so we're not getting into the natural soils. And that would flow into these temporary large detention basins. And then off of those detention basins, if those were to overtop, we would have basically almost like an overflow spillway, and we would line those with flock logs to separate out any of the suspended sediments and solids in that. So then we would have a clear pool that could be, if it was full, that could be pumped out. And if anything, you have an inundation, we're making sure that we treat that water. So we're putting together that program right now. That'll be coming into the town for review. But I think the 3 main items that we wanted to address during this hearing were the floodplain, the limited project crossings, and then making sure we're walking the correct section of line associated with the new flagging for this project. So, questions, comments?
I know this has been a big issue, the limited project problem, I'll call it. To get into the site for the bulk of the development, 50-something units, can you point out on the plan, John, where the wetland crossings are to access the major upland area? There's more than one.
Yes, there's a main one located right in this area.
Okay.
And that's an area where I'll call it more of a finger of wetland comes into the site. So we're not, with our off-grading, we're partially filling it. It's not like it's not a cross from one side to the other. So there's a section in this area, and then again, there's another area right here where there's kind of a little triangular portion that comes into the site, which for just some off-grading, we're filling that. And that's really the two main portions, and then obviously the other portion is.
The third
to
one
get
would
to
be
the
for the remaining 12,
Correct.
is it 12 homes up on the other,
12 units on the other.
12 units on the other one?
And obviously, we're under the 5,000 square feet total. And so we're meeting all of the criteria. We're replicating at 1.5 to 1.
Right. But, you know, I know we got to understand right up front that the limited project provision is really discretionary by the Conservation Commission. That's in the regs, it does say may be allowed. There's no question you have a right to access your upland area for this project.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say upland area, I'm referring to the 50-something units in the big upland piece. I don't read limited project as saying it's there to give you a right to access every piece of upland on your parcel. And I know you cited if you can't get to it by a public way or by an easement across a neighbor or by some other means, the limited project provision kicks in. Well, you did access your property, and you accessed it through that roadway with two, what's called crossings here. I know they're not full, blown-out wetland fills, but you have two fill areas to access the 50-something units. Now, to go for the third one, to get another chunk, you really, I mean, it is full build-out of the site, and the thing that I'm trying to balance here, too, is you gotta, I believe there's a couple of vernal pools here, John. Did you ever check into that? If there are vernal pools on that?
And again, that was, they're off-site, within the wetlands,
Yeah.
so we're not going.
I know you're not
anywhere.
filling them, but I'm just saying
No.
there are.
Yeah, and that's on the northerly portion, within the wetland that is to the north of the
I know.
site.
But the biology of the area relies on both the wetland areas and it relies on upland areas too. And to do all of the upland, develop all of the upland area just doesn't seem to be, you know, the environmentally friendly thing to do here. It's not the, you know, your two crossings are getting you 50-something units, so I don't think anybody could cry that you're depriving use of your property. And I'm just gonna cite that DEP, somebody appealed the decision of the local conservation commission, and I think they were appealed to DEP. And DEP stood by the Conservation Commission and said that, listen, the one crossing to get into your site, to build the home, I don't know if it was one home or a few homes, was sufficient so that you could not be considered to be a taking of the property. And that limited project provision doesn't mean you can maximize the build-out of a piece. And they upheld the Conservation Commission's decision in that case. Unfortunately, can't cite you the appeal case, but that's,
Right.
again, that was some, legal proceeding. And
Right.
that's how it played out in
Right.
that particular case. But that was a person who was on a smaller scale trying to do something similar. And I know, it's my personal opinion, you know, that you really got a lot going on here with the 50-something, and to have another crossing, to go for the last bit of upland, and really, what upland area is really left on this parcel? Is there anything? What's left, John?
There's, it's a large piece of property.
Yep.
It's in excess of 46 acres.
Okay,
So there is, and just for scale,
Yeah.
I print up, there's, to the east, there is a large portion of the property located right here, and there is a causeway, and there is quite a bit of, there is upland located in this area. it's down low, but there is an upland area in
Part of this
section.
parcel.
Part of this parcel.
Yeah, maybe that's something we should be seeing too, and I mean, when you're making your
Well,
presentation.
it's on the site plans, just so you could see where the development portion is going, but it's on the full set of site plans. We have the full, as part of the package, but it's multiple sheets. So there is a larger upland area.
Is that something you could get to without doing a crossing, or does that require a crossing to get to?
Well, just elevation-wise, it's awkward. We could get, hypothetically, you can make anything work with,
Yeah, I mean-
There is a little bit of a causeway that goes through because this wetland wraps back on itself, and it wraps back, so there is a causeway that gets in there, and there is upland there. It's just awkward to get to. And so we tried to concentrate and keep everything clustered in this portion of the site and clustered in this portion of the site and leaving that open.
All right. Martha?
I will say that if the vernal pools are where I think they are, the parcel that you're suggesting for that 11 houses is closer to the pools.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Martha, they're often in this area?
And they're, right,
Over here?
right.
Which
So,
is, and there's a significant wetland. There's lots that front along Gulf Street that I think have been before you for orders of condition. And because this is the property line, I believe it's in this area. So there is quite a vast wetland between this portion of the site. That is the closest portion, but there is a large swath of wetland between the two.
so the way that the biology works with vernal pools and with wetlands is that creatures that live in them do not necessarily live in them year-round. They use them for reproduction, the salamanders and the wood frogs, but they live their adult lives in the uplands. And they don't necessarily travel that far, so they do need upland habitat that's fairly near their breeding site. Turtles also need places to nest, and they will come out of the wetlands to do that, and they're looking for uplands. So that's well, I think what we're trying to do is look at the biological integrity of the site and figure out how to keep some of that integrity and still allow you all to develop what you can without straining the site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm set.
Good.
That FEMA study that you referred to, when was that conducted?
It was done in,
7.
I have a copy of that.
2007.
2007?
Yep.
Okay, 2007.
Do you think that's valid for what we're doing?
Well, not really. So it was done specifically for 197 Gulf Street, and what they did is they went to FEMA and they got a LOMA, which is a map amendment. So if you go to the FEMA website, you'll see there's a LOMA for that particular property. So they took that property out of the FEMA flood zone. Hanging your hat on this flood zone is not going to remove the flood zone. Those properties are still going to require flood insurance unless you go to FEMA and do another LOMA and pull this whole parcel out of FEMA. But I would say at the minimum, it needs updating because the watershed has definitely changed in the last 15, 16 years. So, but it was done specifically for one house to pull it out of the FEMA study, which they did.
So would you consider doing that?
Yes, we would. We just don't want to hold down this proceeding. We don't have a problem doing it. We're going to make sure that we are completely outside of any potential flood zone for any portion of the project. And the elevations, like I said, the elevations associated with we're well above it. So we're not going to have an issue with being potentially within it. But if that was, a condition, it may ultimately help homeowners, although It was something that was, this report was something that was approved, obviously from insurance companies, because the abutting property does not have flood insurance, so. And we also, just so you know, we also went through their methodology, the intensity of the 100-year storm event that was used. They used 7 inches, which if you look at the FEMA rainfall data sheets, that's conservative. It's within the proper range. And we also converted, they were on a different datum. They were on the NGVD 29, we converted it to the NAVD 88. So everything is apples for apples, and like I said, we're well above it. So we're not opposed to do it. We just didn't want to hold up the local permitting process because of what could be dragged out just because you're dealing with FEMA, you know. So that's why we're relying on this, just because we're well outside of it, and the data that, the data that they used is reasonable, so we felt comfortable with it.
This is a big project though, too, John. I mean, this is good size. It's not
No, the flood zone's a flood zone, so
but it's also
whether it's one house or.
2007, and
And the FEMA map that's referenced is from 1980. Well, FEMA's updated the maps several times, so.
Ken, anything else?
No.
Chris?
I had concerns over the flood zone as well. I mean, you kind of laid out all the steps you're going to have to take just for stormwater management during the construction phase. But I remember from last month, we were going to have a peer review done. I didn't know if, did you mention that at the beginning, or?
That was the peer review was to walk the wetland line.
Okay.
But there was confusion. There is I can kind of give you when the permitting was done for this cul-de-sac, that was for this portion of the site. There's an interior lot line for this portion of the site here.
Okay.
So that's the parcel that was associated with this cul-de-sac. So that wetland line was part of that filing that was approved under the order of conditions for the Greenbrier cul-de-sac. The wetland line that has not been walked is this area on the southerly portion, which was flagged. This is a separate parcel that was at one point landlocked. So that's a separate parcel. So that section of the line was not locked in for the Greenbrier cul-de-sac. So that's the section of line that it was requested get reviewed by a peer consultant.
Okay.
Andy, is that accurate, all the wetland line?
Well, yeah, I think Art's here, so he
Yeah.
did email me on, I want to say Thursday,
Yeah,
with some confusion, but I think, as he mentioned in his email, that the wetland flagging out there, the line seems to have moved, even from the old flags. There's been a significant, I don't know. Art wants
Art, can you just mention what you did and where, what part of the site you evaluated for the flagging and?
Art Allen from Ecotech, peer review consultant for the commission. I was out there on June 16th, took a walk. I had a call prior to going out from Matt Morrow, the applicant's wetland scientist. I was not able to connect with him before that walk, so I went out by myself to get a look. I went in from Greenbrier Drive and walked down. Andy had given me a list of flags that he wanted me to review, including, basically anything where the proposed grading and work was in close to the wetland, including this northerly section, which John is saying was locked in. I don't know if there's an approval for this design of that wetland, and whether that old approval is now somehow valid for this project.
I think our approval only covered the cul-de-sac.
Well, that's the thing, so I think, yeah, the original flags were for just the cul-de-sac, none of this driveway work was
None of the
shown.
drive.
So this is a
feeding
new
in,
filing, so.
all part of this filing.
Because that whole wetland in that northern section has changed fairly significantly.
Yeah.
Appears the beavers got into that portion some time ago. And those, a lot of those old blue flags, most of them are missing, first of all. The ones I could see most of them were in the wetland by some distance. In addition, there's been a tracked machine run down through that area fairly recently, and it got into that wetland area in several locations, and it's pretty beat up in a couple of sections right now, pretty rutted. So if this whole northern section is part of this project and not approved for this project, then that whole area is gonna have to be reflagged. And those wetlands are going to expand by the looks of it.
And when you say the flags are in the wetland area now by a distance, how far are we talking?
6, 8, 10 feet or more. I mean, their flags are over the water.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so, and like I said, I looked at this whole northern section down to the, this wetland, north of the wetland outlets through a stream. I walked down in that section over this first crossing, and again, I didn't see any new flags, again, just seeing stubs of the old, what I believe is a Waterman delineation. For again, understanding for some prior project.
Yeah.
In talking to Matt Morrow, my understanding, he recently reflagged the whole southerly portion of the site. I didn't even go down that far because I saw the issues associated with the northerly portion. I said, I'm just gonna stop here,
Yep.
try to figure out what's going on because, because those flags didn't appear to be in any kind of condition where they could be reviewed, and the ones I saw appeared to be, the wetland appeared to expand.
Yeah, no, that's good. John, what's going on? What's going on there?
All right, so you issued an order of conditions for the Sardillo property, which a portion of that is for the construction. So that entire parcel was flagged by Waterman. That's
So what's the Sandillo parcel? I mean,
that's
what are we
the
talking?
that's the
The
Gulf
cul-de-sac?
Gulf Street. It's
Yeah.
When was that?
you issued that order in January. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
So, and it was, that entire parcel was flagged as part of that project, and that, these are the subdivision plans that are referenced in the order of conditions.
But is that parcel now your property? Or is,
It's,
I'm confused. You got a roadway going in from the cul-de-sac. We've approved,
you approved
cul-de-sac.
the cul-de-sac.
correct.
And the wetland line associated with that cul-de-sac is
Okay.
this entire line that goes like this. On what is I'll call it the Greenbrier property. So this is, the Greenbrier property is basically from this midpoint over all
All
of
right.
this. And that
And what was the proposed work under that was for the cul-de-sac that we were approving, right? That wetland line was delineated for the cul-de-sac work,
And
correct?
the entire property was delineated, and there was an existing conditions plan that was part of that filing for,
Or the cul-de-sac?
well, for the site.
What was what was gonna be built?
The cul-de-sac and drainage associated with it.
Right, and where is that located?
That's in this portion of the
Right, so we probably weren't really too concerned with flagging far out in left field that's hundreds of feet away from where the construction was. So what I'm getting at now is, you got a project that's buttoned right up to the wetland, and now you're hanging your hat on flags that were done for construction of a cul-de-sac that's down in the lower left corner of that project, where that was our focus. I mean, putting that cul-de-sac in didn't affect the wetland lines up where your isolated upland area is. So you gotta get this wetland line straight. I mean,
Well-
somebody's gotta have been out there to see this. These flags are setting out in water, you know?
All I can tell you is,
Man.
I don't understand what your frustration is. We received,
My frustration is.
we received plans for a site that has an order of conditions. As part of the order of conditions, I would assume that, obviously, an order condition locks in your wetland line, locks in the work. We received plans that had, for a parcel that had an order of conditions. That locks in the wetland line for that project. There was an expansion of off-site, a landlocked piece, so for our project, we said, okay, the wetland line is locked in for the Greenbrier project. We're gonna expand the flags for the piece that was not associated with the Greenbrier project. We sent Matt Morrow out, he flagged it. There's no, we're working off of documents on approved plans. That's all I'm saying.
Is it part of, those plans are not part of this project,
Tell me.
correct? I mean,
Go through
that January filing, are you the owner of the?
Yes, and I can tell you, it's Stephen Blum, I'm sorry, I'm the owner. Yeah, there was also, to the best of my knowledge, and I do not have it here with me, and I'm willing to bring it back and send it to the board, tomorrow and discuss it next meeting. But the Waterman did have the entire parcel flagged, and the flags were approved, and sometime in September, October, they actually wrote a letter to the board asking that the approval of those flags be extended for, I think, another year or two, something like that. And this board did approve that. I don't have that with me today, and I can
See,
get it to you.
our problem was, when that cul-de-sac came up, we were concerned that when you were segmenting this project, and we were saying, you got a cul-de-sac to nowhere. And I know you explained that your ultimate build-out was this 55 housing project. We should have probably never even entertained that filing and wrapped this all into one filing from the access. Go ahead, Art.
Yeah, if I can, John is correct, the wetland boundary would have been approved for that project, not for this project.
That's right.
If they had an order of resource area delineation, that would be good for 3 years. That would lock in the
That's
entire
right.
boundary, all the flags that they showed, and that would pertain to the property, not
Correct.
the project.
Correct.
But what they have is an order of conditions for the project. That wetland boundary is only good for that project.
The cul-de-sac.
This is a new filing. This opens that property up to
Exactly.
the new work. It opens the wetlands in the
So-
vicinity of the new work up to review.
Absolutely.
Steve, did you say what's the document that you have?
I can't tell you for sure, but if we could put this on hold, and we will send you everything we have that was done with the flaggings, with the boundaries. I believe it'll help clear this up.
Okay, well, we can do that, but right now we got a problem with the existing flagging not being the flagging that's out there now
In the water.
in the water.
And if I could,
And with the
speaking
machine.
to Matt Morrow,
Yeah,
he said he had walked in the same way I walked in, and he said he noticed issues with that flagging
Yeah.
in the northern portion also, but he wasn't directed to reflag that area, so.
okay.
So, yeah, that has to be.
It's all part of this project,
That's
that's the way I see it.
I mean, unless they have an order of conditions for this project that they're trying to extend or something,
Right.
but
No,
this
that's
is
the way I see it, Art.
this is not what was approved.
Yeah, I feared that we were going down this road when we segmented it, when we allowed it to be segmented into two different filings. It should have been really, I think, all one. But, all right, so we got a problem with the wetland flagging, so why don't you look into it, John, okay?
Okay.
Find out, what's up,
And
why did it change so significantly?
I think there was some, and I don't know if Art mentioned it, I think there might have been some flooding associated, if there's a beaver out there or something. In the area, in the central portion of the site, there is an area where you can see that there's sticks and debris kind of mounded up, which may be restricting some flow, so there might be a little bit of damming up associated with that. But, I mean, just for the record, we're trying to do everything by the book. So if we saw an order of conditions for a property with wetland flags as part of a project, and we said, okay, those are locked in, we're gonna,
Yeah, I know.
we're
Well,
extending
you
it
know
on
where
to
we
another.
start, John, we always start, the wetland line is what drives us, so
Yeah,
we got a problem, so we gotta fix that. And, the other thing is, I think Art had mentioned, the water level has been up enough for long enough that some of the wetland vegetation is also taking hold, right, Art? Am I correct?
Wetland vegetation, soils, and hydrology, I mean, there's.
So this is not a 1 month high water occurrence. This has been, for a while now.
No, I'm sure, by the appearance of the old Waterman flagging, I mean, that flagging has gotta be 5 or more years old.
Okay.
Less than 3 years.
Do we have an issue with
3
the
years.
equipment that went through the site?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
gonna be,
that was not, and I was out at the site to do some soil testing with the Board of Health. And when we walked out there, the first thing I did, I saw some rutting going through some areas, and I took pictures of it. I took pictures of the machine on the Greenbrier Road side of it as we were walking in, and I informed the health agent. I said, just for the record, I said, whatever this rutting is in this area, I said, that has nothing to do with us because we weren't coming through here in the site, and I verified that with the representative from the town, the Board of Health agent, so.
so is somebody four-wheeling? Is that what you're claiming there?
I don't know. All I know is it wasn't anything associated with any work that we were doing out
Well,
there.
if that's the case and you didn't do anything right now, we'll take a look too to see what
Okay.
we can.
No, so
see.
I made sure
I-
to document it because I didn't
Yeah.
want someone thinking that we were.
You're gonna need to
with a machine.
block off access to that road so they can't get in there and
Yeah.
continue to do this.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know if it's some of those Jersey barriers up at the head end, but block it off.
That'd be a pleasure. That'd be a good thing.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
Andy,
I think we've touched on most of it, yeah, so I think, the wetland line, sounds like we're working on it. The limited project, obviously, I uploaded to the drive the DEP's 88-2 wetland policy on access to roadways. I don't know if the commission read it, but as you stated, it says the issuing authority is not required to issue, under a limited project. It also says, that, it does not preclude more than one wetland crossing, but that's usually because the planning board requires a second means of egress into the site. So I think the second crossing or third crossing, depending which way we call it, does not meet the standard. And again, the FEMA, I think the study should be updated, and I think, at some point, you're gonna have to go to FEMA and get the letter of map change. So, if the calculations are done, I'm gonna do that process too. And then I did also upload to the drive GZA's comments on the slope, so I think the slopes are gonna be changing. There were some comments from GZA on terracing the slope, so I think there's some changes to be made and some work to be done.
okay, so we are gonna have to continue it. Does anyone in the public tonight have any questions or comments they'd like to add? Yes, can you come up to the mic and state your name and address, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Douglas Radigan from Bowditch and Dewey. I represent some of the abutters. I'm also a resident of Shrewsbury at 7 Willow Woods Drive. Just a couple of quick questions. I know that there's a lot of outstanding issues left for this board to deal with, but my clients remain gravely concerned with the scope of this project. We've already been told by the applicant, Attorney Bloom, on multiple occasions that this is going to be a multi-phase project that's going to be a clear cut of all the upland area. We're here in front of this board before we even start, and we're already hearing from your consultant that there are potential violations with respect to crossings in the wetland areas. Now, I appreciate the applicant's representative has documented it, but I presume that this is the first time this board is hearing about it, and that this wasn't self-reported prior to this.
Art is our.
Art is yours, but
Is ours.
I believe the applicant here, Mr. Grenier, did acknowledge that he documented it, was aware of it. That isn't the way these things are supposed to be done. with respect to the flood plan, it's very clear that FEMA considers any flood plan that's more than 5 years old to be out of date, and a flood mapping is considered to be deemed unknown at that point. Certainly, I think the board already understands that that's an issue that needs to be dealt with here. And we still remain concerned with the overall scope and magnitude of this project. We're now here and hearing concerns about mapping of wetland areas and the fact that even the flags that aren't correctly marked, that there's visible damage already in the wetlands. We would ask you respectfully to use your discretion, and there's certainly plenty of discretion here with the project of this, and deny the request and not issue an order of conditions. This is not a limited project. This is not something that should be shoehorned in this purview. This is not the type of project that's meant for this type of review. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? To the mic, please.
Hi, Rachel Missel, 23 Cypress Ave. I have some questions because I'm unclear on some things. The developer says that they're going to cut and fill about 1/10 of an acre of wetlands and replace them at a ratio of 1.5 times. And I'm wondering if there's any indication as to where that's going to be. Will it be contiguous to the existing wetlands, or is it going to be somewhere else? And will it be the entire 4,500 square feet in one location, or can they dig a hole here, dig a hole there, and replace it at, or actually it'd be 1.5 times 4,500 feet, right? Will that be in one location, or can it be spread out throughout the two parcels that have been knitted together to make this? If it's the latter, what effect is that going to have on the ability of plant and animal species to thrive in these wetlands and uplands? And will the wetlands be close enough to uplands for, as Ms. Gatch was saying, for the animals that need both wetlands and uplands to be able to utilize them? That was one. Two, we've been repeatedly reminded that stitching together these two lots entitles the development of 166 units, and they only want 66 units on this site. But it makes me wonder if this is the first phase of a multi-phase development of the two lots. And if that's the case, will they again be able to cut and fill wetlands? And is that the appropriate thing to do for the wildlife and the plant life in these parcels? And then the other question I have is with respect to salt runoff and runoff from cars and stuff on the roads that are going to be abutting these wetlands. I was back in the northern section of the Greenbrier lot the other day, and the distance between what I'll call a cliff, essentially, between the Germanos' home, which is at the end of the cul-de-sac there, and the wetlands is not wide enough for a road now. So that's definitely going to have to be filled. And I'm just wondering what the road salts and stuff, what that is going to do to what has been described as vernal pools. I don't know if that's what they are, and if that's going to allow for, again, the plant and wildlife species to utilize those wetlands, or if it's going to deteriorate them over time. I'll sit down and let you guys answer.
John, why don't you show where your replication areas are?
Yeah, the replication areas are adjacent to the proposed fill areas. We have, as I said, there's a fill section along this driveway, and we have a replication area just to the south of it. And then in this section right here, which is between the two fill areas, we have another large replication area shown right there. And in terms of runoff and salt, all of those are part of our stormwater management system, which we're catching the runoff into catch basins, we're pre-treating it, we're routing those into detention basins. So we're treating any of the salt and sand and runoff from the roads by capturing it and treating it and detaining it and meeting all of the stormwater management requirements they're required by DEP for projects of any sort. So they are, all the areas, they're not scattered around, they're adjacent to the areas of the fill. They're hydraulically connected, they're not remotely off somewhere else, so it's standard protocol for projects like
The
this.
treatment is for sediment control. It's not for treating soluble salt.
No.
So it's just
no.
like any roadway in town that we salt. You know,
Yeah.
it gets dissolved with rainwater and it runs off into the environment. Same thing will happen in this subdivision if they treat with salt. But they do provide sediment control for sand on the roads and things such as that. Okay, more questions or comments? All right, I don't see any, so we'll continue it to our next meeting, which is
July 19th.
July 19th.
So, in the meantime, can we have our wetland consultant reach out to your wetland consultant?
Definitely.
And coordinate so that we
Yeah.
can get on the same page
Yep,
in terms of the protocol for that?
go ahead, Art.
Does that mean they're being directed to reflag everything pertinent to this project, or?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, anything that's, any construction relative to this project, they should reflag.
And that should be done before I go back out
Right.
with Matt. Because it doesn't, I'm not gonna go out there and
No.
work with him on doing the flagging. He needs to do the flagging,
Right.
and I need to review.
But I would still like some, in the meantime, I'm still would like to get some clarification on typically, when you get an order of conditions on a project, you're locking in the wetland line for that land, that project.
That project, no, I'm not looking at it, locking into the land, that's where we're disagreeing, I
Okay.
think. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to just get some clarification on that as well, just so,
Yeah.
it seems like Mr. Blum spent quite a bit of time and quite a bit of money having the entire parcel flagged, having surveyors locate all those flags. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of flags associated with it. They spent all this time, all this money, hired consultants, and
But obviously, they're invalid now because of the fact they're sitting out in the middle of a wetland.
Okay. Can I just,
Yep.
before we make claims that they're valid or invalid, could we send them to this board and to your consultant for what we've gotten in the past? Because we're really talking about documents that nobody's seeing at this meeting right now, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you're gonna send us that's going to make us accept flags that are 8 feet out into the water.
I'm not asking that you accept flags that are 8 feet out in the water. We want to know what the parameters of what we have to do going forward. And if we send you some of this material, it might help explain.
Well, send us what you'd like, we'll take a look at it, and I
if
think
we-
John knows. I mean, we got a project here, the road's coming in off the cul-de-sac, it's going in to 50-something units. I'm looking at the work as that road off the cul-de-sac, all the way in through the units, all the units. Where's the flagging for that, you know? Is it valid today, you know, so.
yeah, and we want to get some clarification on that, and he wants to look through his documentation.
Yep, okay,
I do agree with you 100% that if this had been done as one single file,
I
it
agree,
would have
yeah.
been-
That was-
avoided a lot of this.
and a lot easier.
But typically with the planning board, you don't have, unless you have the frontage, you don't have the frontage for a project. So I believe from the planning board standpoint, they wanted a definitive subdivision to create a road, that would create the frontage, so then you can develop your lots off of that. So that's what I think was driving it, is
Okay.
until you have an official subdivision road that's approved, you don't even have frontage for another project.
All right. See you next month.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. Okay. Next hearing is also a continued public hearing. We have actually two of them. Why don't we open them both up? They're notices of intents filed by Summit Ridge Estates for the construction of a single-family home and associated site work at 8 Palmetto Hill Road. And the other one is a continued public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by Summit Ridge Estates for the construction of a single-family home and associated site work at 10 Palmetto Hill Road. Good evening.
Hi, John. Hi, Ken. Members of the board. Clea Blair from Summit Ridge Estates. So Julian Botruba from New England Environmental Design was supposed to be with me tonight, but he had a family matter and he couldn't come. He had all the plans, he had everything. We did turn everything in right away that you would ask for at the last meeting, so you should have everything in front of you. We put the wetland line, they came out and, I think you came out and, did you come out and see it, Andy? The wetland line?
I did, but it was on the flag, so I mean, it was showing the plan, so.
Okay, and so that was all set. We showed the boulders, we showed the fill, replication areas and everything you were looking for. So everything should be, I don't know which lot is up first, but that's the one that had the most concern.
Yeah, yep. And, yeah, the one thing I caught on that, Clea, after the meeting, your presentation, we were doing a fill and a replication. This is on, I believe, 8.
Yeah, yes.
And the amount of the fill, trying to do it under the finger-like projection type thing.
Yeah.
That's limited to 500 square feet. I think yours was like 800, that fill area. And we can approve up to 500 in a finger-like projection. So we're like 300 square feet over what is allowed under the regulation. So I'm wondering if we can, cut the fill area back. Thanks, Art. I wonder if we can cut the fill area back down by 300 feet, get us to the 500. But I think another thing, Andy, was the total project fill.
So yeah, DEP sent, which is unusual, they sent in a second set of comments, of which they said, the original subdivision had a lot of wetland filling.
Right,
And they were
right.
questioning whether there was a water quality cert done. And I did look at the subdivision, and based on the area of filling to date that was approved, it was over 4,000 square feet. So, I mean, they're just under, but it was just over 4,000 square feet, so.
So we're still under.
So they'd still be under, yeah.
Still under,
But I think we just
okay.
need to clarify, yeah.
Okay, so that's not gonna be
No,
an
no.
issue with this part. But if we can, on the lot 8, just pull off 300 feet, just pull it in a little.
Sure, we can do
Okay,
that.
get it
yeah.
down to 500 square feet, and then it meets the regulation.
That would be fine. If you could make that a condition, it would be even better.
Yeah, I don't know if can we do that as a condition?
Well, the issue is once you close a public hearing, we're not allowed to accept any new material.
Yeah.
So typically, it's not.
If it's a
Can you,
condition.
can you just have Julian just revise the plan quickly and run one up to the town hall, and then we'll have Andy take a quick look at it?
Oh, sure. I mean, we can do that right away, but I was hoping not to
No, I
have to
know,
come
I
back
know,
again.
but this will, well, we can't, once we close it, we can't take any more plans, and then we don't have a record plan that shows the
Okay.
500, okay? It'll be out
Sure.
of sync.
Yeah,
And then somebody down the line's gonna wanna do something, and they're gonna have a plan that's reflecting the wrong numbers.
so
But
I
that would
apologize.
be the only concern. You're showing the rock border on the top.
hmm
All right, Martha, do you remember? You have anything? Ken?
This is just for lot 8, right?
Lot 8 right now, yeah.
I'm
And-
good, I'm good with that change.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, I'm good.
Andy?
What's that?
All right, and then on lot 10, that was pretty straightforward.
Pretty
It was just the
straightforward.
flagging, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
Flagging's,
Yeah, the flagging was not in the field, so they reflagged it and relocated it and showed it on the plan. So I have updated plans showing the flag.
okay, but do we have to go out and verify the flag?
They look like they match the O line, so I don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
They're right on the old line.
Are they?
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Questions? Ken?
All set.
Chris?
All set.
Okay, let's do this. We can close this hearing?
Sure.
Okay, 10. And let's go to the public. Any questions or comments on Lot 10, Palmetto Hill Road? No? All right, I don't see any. We'll close the hearing for 10.
Great.
We'll keep the one open for 8. We'll close it next month, okay? As soon as
Sure.
the plan comes in,
Sure, you got it.
you got one you can jump on.
Oh, yeah, we'll take care of it. Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks, Lee.
it. Bye now.
Yeah. All right, we have another continued public hearing. This one's regarding the notice of intent filed by Umberto Lima for the expansion of lawn and landscaping area, installation of gravel walkway, patio, and restoration of wetland resource areas, buffer zone, land subject to flooding, and riverfront area at 14A Deerfield Road and 10 Roslin Place. Good
Hi,
evening.
good evening. Andrea Kendall with LEC. During last month's public hearing, I guess 3 discussion points to follow up on. Submitted a revised plan that essentially removes 2 of the little spur walkways off of the patio. That's been updated on the plan and to be restored to lawn. And then there was a comment about how much of the boulders along the bank at the interface of the wetland replication area will be removed, and a note on the plan has been added that 1 to 2 layers of boulders will be removed, and then along that interface. The one comment from DEP was regarding the little bit of patio that remained within the inner riparian zone, within the 100-foot riparian zone. I did reach out to DEP by email on 2 occasions, but never heard back. And what I conveyed, and Andy received that email, was that the boulders in particular were sourced from on-site, and so it was really just limited to that small footprint of gravel. So without hearing anything back, my interpretation is that it's the commission's discretion on how they would like to proceed. And I guess I'm hopeful that the commission would allow that little bit to remain, especially given that we're removing a little bit of those little spur trails within Riverfront area. Portion of it is within the 100-foot Riverfront area, and the other one is just outside of that, and with all the other restoration that is occurring on site.
Does that make DEP satisfied? I mean, you didn't hear back from them.
Did not hear back.
No, we tried a couple of times and didn't respond, so.
Do you want to keep the hearing open and try to reach them before you, or do you want us to?
I guess I'm asking the commission to make their decision on there. And I've reached out 2 times. I don't know what else I could do.
I suppose if you heard something negative from them, we could do an amended order, if that were the case, to
I'd say we just,
close it.
Yeah, that was my suggestion. I mean, if they do take umbrage with it, they can always appeal it, but I don't
Yeah.
suspect they will.
All right. Martha, anything?
Nope.
Ken?
all good.
Chris?
Nope.
Andy?
I'm all set.
Is there anyone in the public who has any questions or comments on this hearing? No. Yes, can you come to the mic and state your name and address, please?
Hi, my name is Kathy Lucier. I'm a trustee to property that abuts this area.
Yep.
Chairman, board, I just had a quick question about the vegetation area along the stone wall area, because obviously there were vernal pools and things of that nature. Does that get repaired, or how does that work? I'm not really clear on that.
The wetland that was impacted through the conversion of lawn is going to be restored to a wetland, and we've submitted a wetland restoration plan to remove that soil and put in native shrubs, trees, and understory, and more ground cover. So that will be restored.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Just so that the mic can pick it up, you were turned away from the
Oh.
microphone. You're gonna do a replication in that
That's
area.
correct.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, I don't see any, we'll close the hearing.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Appreciate it. I have plans.
All right, another continued public hearing. It's regarding the notice of intent filed by Michael LaRusso for the construction of a stone patio, bocce ball court, and associated landscaping at 102 Reservoir Street. Do we have somebody here tonight? Yep, here we go.
Guys, this is Andrew Tebow with Goddard Consulting. We submitted new plans yesterday, so I have 3 hard copies for the commission. Look at today as well. We would like to hand these out.
Oh, did you get one? We'll share, Ken and I will share.
Thank you.
Did you say you just dropped these off yesterday at the town hall?
So we submitted a digital copy last night, and then these are the hard
Okay.
copies brought today for this.
Yeah, this, it's gonna be insufficient for us to act today to close the hearing.
Certainly, understood. We just want to
Okay.
get in front of you guys as soon as possible with new plans and keep the continuation going, so.
Okay.
So, to start off, we still have our colored plan from the last hearing. It's our plot plan for the site, just to go over a few things. We can look over the plan revisions. So, at 102 Reservoir Street, last hearing, we had discussed essentially that there was a play structure and a shed on the site in addition to the proposed landscaping that we needed a permit for that were placed there without a permit. So as of now, the area in dark green that we had shown was grassed all the way to our wetland line. So this is our old plot plan, and then we have colored up the changes that we have made, which I will show right now. Thank you for your patience with that. So the revisions that we are going to now, so both the shed and the play structure are actually proposed to be relocated, and now as we ask for permission for their location. The scope of the landscaping wants to be in their footprint, so we are looking to relocate the structures. So we've colored up new plans to show the difference in existing versus proposed landscaping for the site. We see in dark purple here, these are existing garden beds and landscaping mulch piles that are already on the site. So we have colored up in light pink along the bottom where the applicant hopes to continue that landscaping line. At the prior hearing, we had discussed concern that he was proposing to landscape within the wetland line. So our surveyor for the project has called out a note on the bottom that the landscaping limits are at the wetland line in the rear, they stop there, and there will be no encroachment to the wetlands. It's important to think about this currently. The reason why we showed the existing plot plan to start with is this area is all over existing lawn. As of now, this area is mowed until the wetland edge. And so the applicant just hopes to, over the existing lawn, to landscape with some shrubs and some exotic grasses instead. So the proposed bocce ball court remains in the same location. We've added this to the proposed plot plan to see its exact dimensions. There are 2 maple trees, an 8-inch maple and a 9-inch maple, that are now proposed to be removed as part of the project. These were planted in a mulch bed. They're not natively there. They were proposed in a mulch bed by the applicant. Those would have to be removed to put the bocce ball court there. And Our proposed stone patio is now shown in the footprint of the existing play structure. The hope is to move this play structure off to the side of the property, get it a couple more feet away from the wetland edge, and to put the stone patio in its place and to landscape around it. So this work is all proposed over the existing lawn in these same areas, but there have been some revisions of how it was gone about, so I'm happy to answer any questions that come up as a result of that.
Martha?
It just seems like putting structures such as sheds and bocce courts right up next to the wetland line is not something that we want to encourage. That's why there's a buffer zone. And there's not supposed to be any structures within 15 feet of the wetland, period.
Certainly.
So I would seriously hope that the homeowner could find a different place for their shed. And is the propane tank pad, I guess that's tiny. All right, never mind that. And I would also strongly discourage the use of exotic grasses, especially when you're close to a wetland, because there's always the potential for things to spread. And wetlands are notoriously amazing breeding grounds for exotic things to spread beyond where they're supposed to be for being invasive.
Certainly.
Yeah, thank you.
All set, Martha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes, I would like to see, if possible, if you could move the structures away from the wetland line. I mean, they're right on the wetland line.
Certainly.
And we understand it's grass, and we understand that you're trying to do the right thing, but if you could move them away from the line a little bit more would be appreciated.
Certainly, and I'm happy to circle back and see what we can do with that. Obviously, with this lot, we're under a very tight constraint. I mean, we show the 30-foot buffer just because that was shown in the original order of conditions for the house, because the property was to be built within the 100-foot buffer zone. And so we have a very, very tight lot to work with, and so I know the homeowner is trying to keep them off the wetland edge as best as possible. We can certainly see what we can do with that.
Correct, and probably when the house was built, the 30-foot buffer was in effect. That's why there was nothing in the 30-foot buffer. So now that we have things in the buffer, they need to be moved away.
Certainly understood, yes.
What's up? Chris?
Nothing additional, no.
Andy?
No, I just mirror the same thing. I like to pull stuff back from the wetland line, and maybe give the buffer a chance to reestablish.
The bocce court is just, basically, it's a small wooden edging, isn't it? It's nothing
Wood
larger
edging,
than like
sand in the middle.
Sand in the middle, right?
Yeah, it's not considered an impervious surface like that, exactly. And it's just a small wooden plank surrounding it. You walk right into it.
Okay.
Do you have additional, so the shed would be a concrete floor shed, or would it be installed above ground on piers or something?
Yeah, as of now, since the shed was actually placed, back in 2016 unpermitted, it's just sitting right on the ground right now. But as part of the project, I mean, we can certainly look into ways to raise it and to better the area around it. I think that's certainly a valid question.
All set, Chris?
Yeah.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? All right, I don't see any, so we will continue this hearing until our next meeting, which is July 19th.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, this is our last continued public hearing. It's regarding an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for the property located at 29 General Avenue. And do we have an applicant here tonight? Is it John?
We do. We had filed an ANRAD for the BVW located at number 29 General Avenue. It was requested by the commission to have your consultant walk the flagged line for this lot. We believe that we saw correspondence that your consultant was in agreement with the line as flagged, And the only other line item, there is a flood zone, AE, that's located within the wetland beyond. And actually, it was requested that the limit of that flood zone, which is elevation 429.1, be added to the plan just for completeness, even though it's within the wetland. So we updated the plans to show that flood zone AE line that is on the easterly part within the wetland. It's at the toe of the slope within the wetland area. But beyond that, I think everybody's in agreement. We like the easy.
How did you come up with that flood zone?
'Cause it's an AE, so it has an elevation associated with it.
Okay.
On the flood map, and that's elevation 429.1, according to the firm map panel, which it's flood map 25027C0637F.
Why is that necessary, John, when you're just looking for the delineation on the wetland line? Why do you want to get that elevation on?
It was requested that we put that on
Is
there.
that what it was?
Yeah, just for completeness, because it is a potential resource area, so it's just,
Okay.
okay, while we're locking in the wetland line.
All right.
And we have all the contours, just
Okay,
show the
that's fine.
floodplain elevation.
Okay. Martha?
I'm set.
Ken?
Wasn't there another comment from Alan with the...
Some filling?
The yard waste should be removed?
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I think somebody was dumping some of their leaves and stuff, that should be removed. And we're fine with having
So we
that
remove
removed.
the yard
Not a
waste.
problem.
Chris?
No, no question.
Andy?
Yeah, no, the DEP commented on the zone being shown too, because it is a resource area, so the ANRAD should show more, so,
So
no.
you're happy we can close it tonight?
Yeah, Art was fine with the wetland flagging,
Okay.
so,
And I have the plans
okay. So
for you, so.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? All right, I don't see any, we'll close it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks. Martha?
We have a new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Shrewsbury Land Property Owner LLC of 133 Pearl Street, Suite 300, Boston, Massachusetts, has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a warehouse and associated site work at 440 Hartford Turnpike. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, June 21, 2022, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Gene Sullivan. I'm the engineer for the project. I'm trying to get my computer to work with me so we could get the
Okay.
display on one of your monitors. If you give me 1 second.
And Andrea Kendall with LEC Environmental Consultants.
Yeah, they have. I'm ready. I can start
Yeah,
without it if you
roll,
don't mind. I
wait.
apologize.
Yep.
if you plug the cable in down there, so.
Yeah, I know. My computer's not starting.
Oh, you can, I can share it.
That was supposed to be the easy part. I also have a flash drive if you have access to the monitor, but why don't we get started? Again, my name is Gene Sullivan. I'm the engineer for the project representing Shrewsbury Land Property Owner LLC, based out of Boston. Andrea Kendall from LEC Environmental Consultants did our wetlands flagging and other filed a notice of intent, prepared the notice of intent with this board. We're here tonight to talk about a 10.5 acre site located on the corner of Stony Hill Road and Hartford Turnpike. It was previously permitted as part of I guess, 2 lots as a 40B project. I don't know a lot about that. Andrea knows a lot more. My job was to lay it out and design it as a build-to-right project. There are existing wetlands on the property. The significant wetlands are close to the Stony Brook Hill Road side of the property. On the down gradient side, there's pretty severe slope from left to right on my plan, I guess, which is north to south in the real world. And there's about 60 feet of slope running across our site. Hallelujah. Got that on. And we are heading towards the wetlands over there. Additionally, there are a couple of small isolated wetlands as on the property that we are asking to fill and relocate and replicate on the, I think it's Wetland 1, on where we thought it would have a better success of taking and working effectively going forward. Hopefully this will get us live.
Yeah, they emailed them to me. Yeah.
I apologize for this. I'm really close to being ready for this part. Do I turn one of these on, or how does that?
Knock on the door.
So you should.
Oh, we're getting there. There we go.
It takes a little while to kick in sometimes.
All right. I took a little while to kick in too, so and I apologize again. All right. Okay, so then you don't care about that. So just to restart a little bit of rehash, I'll be quick. Hartford Turnpike is on the top of the page. Stony Hill Road is over here. We have 2 wetland areas that were flagged down here and over here in this corner, and then you'll see these 2 small blue isolated wetlands that total about 1,900 square feet, right? Or is it 19 and?
2,900.
Sorry, 1,900 and 1,000 square feet. And we'll talk about this a little later. We prepared our erosion controls plan. There was a request by the town engineer, Andy, to beef up a few items. We're fine with that, no problem. And then we'll get into what our proposed development is, if that's okay. What we're proposing is a single access drive off of Hartford Turnpike that will allow us to have a right turn in and a right turn out only for vehicles. We are doing a slip lane for that we're working with Mass DOT for to get approval with. They've already seen our plans and understand what we're trying to do here. We do not have an exit or an access point at all on Stony Hill Road. We have full circulation around the building to allow the fire department to get out back through a grass paver system. And then what we've proposed here is a 134,000 square foot industrial high bay building, most likely a warehouse. It could be some light manufacturing, but our anticipated market is that it'll be more of a warehouse distribution user. You'll see along Hartford Turnpike, we have 28 loading dock doors. We did get a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals to allow them facing the street. We just thought that was a better orientation versus having the loading operations facing the neighborhood behind us. We are in a limited industrial zoning district, but the zoning line is right on the bottom of the page here between us and some residences behind us. So we're expecting that, we know that the building will help block up a lot of noise and lights and all of those things. So we just thought that was better and asked for relief. And the zoning board certainly thought it was a good idea by granting the approval. On the left side of the plan, we've got a parking area for the office space and some of the warehouse employees. Right now, this is a spec building, so we're assuming it's about 5,000 square feet of office space. That's what we're finding most often in the marketplace. These type of structures are what the owner does and builds all over Massachusetts, so we have a pretty good handle on what the demands are for numbers of employees, office space, and parking requirements. We have 100 parking spaces shown on this plan right now. Next page. Next page that would be concerning, I think, to the board is our utilities and drainage plan. This is a peaked roof down the middle, down the ridge. So we have a downspout collection system, which is gutters and downspouts, and then underground drainage systems on the 2 long sides. They come out towards the Hartford Turnpike and then go around to get to what we're creating as an infiltration basin along Stony Hill Road. Additionally, we have a series of catch basins, deep sump catch basins, and a water quality unit, a context unit. And that additionally is routed over towards the infiltration basin. So everything gets over to the infiltration basin at the end of the day. Other things we've done on site is to help reduce runoff is the fire lane is grass pavers, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And we have designated the office parking, which is the parking lot on the left-hand side, to be porous pavement. We've done a lot of projects in Devon specifically, or other communities that are promoting these low-impact development designs, and had a lot of luck with that. And I know one of the comments was regarding that they don't always mix well on its ice, but we've had pretty good luck. One of them's a hospital, and the other ones are parts of, similar distribution warehouses. And we think the runoff considerations are important on projects like this. That's the big picture of the site development. You want to go into your replication part of it and so forth? I can call your page up.
Sure.
Andrea?
So there is an existing order of conditions for this property that was extended in 2019. We went back out, delineated the wetlands. In some instances, it's a little bit more expanded the wetland line in areas, and then identified that 2 isolated wetlands that weren't previously identified. So that was right in the between right in the middle of the building footprint, and then where the basin infiltration basin is going. So even though they're not regulated under the bylaw or the state, these are they're not and they don't meet the volumetric criteria to be considered isolated land subject to flooding based on the topography and the water holding capacity. So perhaps they're federally subject to jurisdiction under the Federal Clean Water Act, but regardless, decided to replicate those, and those are going to be adjacent to the southwestern wetland. And
This is the wetland closest to Stony Brook.
so in total, it's just over 2,900 square feet of impact. And then the wetland replication area is 3,200 square feet. We provided a grading and planting plan in this that proposes native ferns and herbaceous and shrubs and trees within there. And then the side slopes there will be buffer zone restoration. We'll be putting in some native shrubs and trees there. And then to construct that with the equipment that moves down from the project to there, any disturbance in ground and vegetation that will be restored as well. And then I guess also because of the sewer line that's going in, it wasn't explicitly discussed in the NOI, but that's something that any area that's disturbed because of the installation of the sewer line, that theoretically we could restore the vegetation as well. That's within the buffer zone too. So I think that's an improvement and expands the existing wetland area on the site.
Other things to note, we did file for site plan approval with the planning board. We are meeting with them, I believe it's July 14th. But we filed a notice of intent and thought it was worthwhile to come in and introduce the project to you before we head to the planning board and get some of their feedback.
Ready for questions?
We are.
Martha?
I know we had some comments, I think, from DEP. I'm going to leave those be, but I did have a question about your species list for the replication planting. I noticed that you have green ash included on here.
Yeah.
Probably want to replace that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Emerald ash borer.
Yes.
Yeah. Those won't last long.
Yeah.
Everything else looks great.
Okay. Thank you.
Ken?
So how do you close out the existing order and with the work that was already been done on the site?
So that existing order was for that prior project included 2 parcels. This parcel 440, Hartford Turnpike, and then another one to the, I guess it's to the east. So once we feel that we're getting close to the issuance of the order, we'll go ahead and, I already drafted it, but I haven't yet submitted it. I'll go ahead and submit a request for a partial COC specific to this, this lot, and ask because, the project never went forward, except for some of the initial land clearing and grading, that we'll just ask that to be vacated and closed out and a partial COC issued. And that allows the order for the other parcel to remain open, because that's under different ownership.
Okay. And one other question is on the excavation and filling. How much fill are you going to move? How much blasting do you anticipate, or any of that, anything like that? How you gonna stabilize it as you go?
We've shown on the erosion controls, and we'll add some more temporary settling basins and so forth on the low side, but we do have, obviously, silt fence and hay bales, and I like to build an earthen berm at the bottom of the hill too, to help contain anything, but we'll beef that up. There's a lot of earth moving. We're basically taking a 60-foot slope left to right and picking the middle, because that's where the road is. That's gonna be our, our finished floor, so.
So do you anticipate blasting?
I have seen only older geotech reports. We haven't done our own, but I didn't see anything yet. We saw some smaller rock down in the low side, but not so much on the high side, coincidentally. So, but we'll take some more borings. Actually, we'll do them right away, and that way we'll be able to respond and tell you if we expect to encounter that.
Okay.
But a preliminary indications are not.
The aerial indicates and shows, not necessarily the plans, that half the site is already cleared, the land area closest to Route 20. So just more of an FYI.
So the area where those isolated wetlands are, were not in the area that was cleared?
Correct.
Correct. Those are in the existing woodland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris?
Do you anticipate bringing soil on site for the fill?
The soil's pretty good out there as far as using it structurally and for parking lots and building base. Our anticipation is we're gonna have a balanced site and move it from high to medium and medium to low type thing.
And then tell me about the porous pavement for the lower parking area.
What would you like to know?
Well, how does it work? I mean,
So we have a standard detail. It's a combination of different filtering media. On page.
is it just packed tightly but still porous?
Oh, the pavement itself actually looks like binder. It almost looks open. You can see voids in it. It's very important that you maintain it. Obviously, don't let them get clogged, but there's procedures as far as vacuum trucks and things like that you would do spring and winter like any other ordinary maintenance. But it's really, there's a crushed stone layer, then a pea stone layer, then the coarse bank run that gives you, more of the stability, and then a choker course on top of that before the 4-inch pavement. It's a standard detail for that to allow, basically it handles all your runoff for its area by itself.
Okay. No other questions?
Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I had a few comments, nothing, major. As obviously, the existing order conditions is part of the Point Hills Farm, so we should look at closing out. But as part of those order conditions, there was some drainage improvements that were to be put in across Stony Hill. Right now, we have an issue with that wetland weeping across the sidewalk and freezing issues in the winter. So the original approval had 2 12-inch culverts put underneath there, so we would like to mirror that as part of this condition. I think the stormwater plan just needed stamped and signed. It will need a stormwater from DPW, so we just...
Yeah, I have the form. I just think it's...
recommend getting them going concurrently, because typically that's where we get into the weeds with...
I wanted to go to my first planning meeting, to be honest.
That's fine.
Before we made a bunch of changes.
Planning will review it for stormwater too.
Yep.
And we touched on the earthwork. I don't know if the commission wants the wetlands reviewed or not. I mean, we've historically done that on the last few projects, but it doesn't sound like they've changed too much from the previous filing.
Well, we probably should. I mean, it's a big project. I'd say, yeah, go for it, Andy.
Okay.
Just a delineation?
Excuse me?
Just a delineation?
Yes, just
Okay.
delineation.
Yeah, just to confirm the line.
Confirm it. Would you be looking to keep this open now that you're going to planning board in case there's changes in planning board, you can come back?
Yeah, I want to have you look at the real,
Yeah.
final set before there's any vote.
Exactly.
But we wanted to make
Good.
sure there weren't any other issues that were of concern to the commission.
See, obviously, the porous pavement, I've not seen them mixed, but if you have historical, success with them, I guess the only thing we require is the monitoring well, so you can go down and check the
Yeah, I saw that
water
note.
levels in the.
And we'd have signage also so that they understand, and obviously, not obviously, but the contractor for snow removal is going to be someone familiar with the property and understand that there's different treatments from, our trucking dock and the office area. I was a skeptic at first as well. It wasn't my idea to do it on one of the projects, but it's been there 8 years and it looks as good, well, it looks fine, and functioning, and I'm not even sure how much maintenance they're doing, to be honest, but it's been working fine, so.
So I think, the other thing I had was access to the maintenance for the stormwater basin. I mean, it looks like you've got the, the driveway around it, but there's no way to actually get to the basin.
Yeah, I think the basin access is gonna have to be on Stony Hill, from the low side. I mean, it's
Okay.
really just a grass basin. So, it's a mowing thing, and unless there's something going on, and then you'd have to create access for a machine if that were to happen.
Okay. And then something that wasn't on my memo, and it came up as a sidebar, but under the original Point Hills project, Mass DOT has a drainage easement in that corner.
They do.
And there was a whole basin that was designed and approved as part of the original, so I don't know if that needs to be included as part of
It's on my plan, actually. If you look, this is the erosion controls plan. You see this blue line?
Mhm.
That's their easement, and we stayed out of it the very best we could, except for some very minor grading. And they said, please try to respect it the best you can and don't prohibit us from being able to use it, and they were happy. They've seen the plan, they understand what we're doing in that area.
Okay, so MassDOT's going to build the drainage. I didn't know that was, because it was originally shown on the approved plans for.
Yeah,
So-
that's,
Okay.
it's not our
As long as you
hunt
got
right
these
now.
ones, that was pretty much all I had, so.
Going back to the stormwater basin?
Yes.
Again, access to it, I'm a little confused. Did you say you would access it off of Stony Hill Road?
Yeah, we have frontage on Stony Hill.
Yes, you do, but how do you get to the other side of it? All your access is coming from one side. Typically, we go 10 feet all the way around, right, Andy?
Yeah, it's usually a 10-foot, and it kind of looks like they've got that.
So
I
you
mean,
We've got an earthen berm on the top of it that's, I think it's, did I mention it? I typically leave an 8-foot flat berm on the top.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. If you can just make sure you got 10 feet, just get it out to 10 feet.
10 feet,
Got
okay.
another couple feet.
Okay.
And it looks like I can see the area where you're talking about. It's around 428, is it?
Yes, right.
Yeah. But that would meet the 10-foot all the way around.
Okay,
If
I
you
can
just
take a
get
look.
another couple on it.
Yeah, we can do that.
yeah, I'm just thinking, if you're accessing from Stone Hill, we'll just have to make sure we're not damaging that curb if you bring equipment in. 'cause-
Yeah, but the intended maintenance isn't any equipment, right? It's a grass.
Mowing usually, but.
I mean, those are slopes. That's not a big, mowing a golf course mower, It's 3-to-1 grass slopes.
At some point, you're gonna have to muck out the sediment though, too.
We will. Yep. I agree. There's some that has to be done, but without getting in the way of MassDOT and all of that, I think the best way to do it is find a way, we'll show an access route
Okay,
coming off Stony Hill.
okay. All set.
Yeah, I'll reach out to
All right.
get a quote.
Does
prepared.
anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? It will be continued, but we'll hear anybody tonight if they'd like to speak. I don't see any, so we will continue this hearing until our next meeting, which is July 19.
Correct.
Okay, we'll take that date for now. But most likely we may have to go to the next meeting, but we have the planning meeting 4 days in advance, so if anything changes,
No,
I won't have time, you won't have time, so.
Yep.
But we'll leave it there for now, and,
yeah, no, that's fine.
okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Thank
Sorry
you.
for the delay at the beginning. I'll bring paper next.
Ready?
Yep, go ahead, Mark.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Meredith Linden of 90 Lakeside Drive, Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, has filed a notice of intent for the replacement of an existing deck and retaining walls and associated grading and landscaping at 90 Lakeside Drive. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, June 21, 2022, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury.
Good evening, Scott Jordan from Ecotech. Meredith Linden is with us, and her father Chris. I know Andy had seen this site. Have any folks been out to see this site?
I haven't.
Yeah, well, it's a fairly simple project. It's located on the lake, 90 Lakeside Drive. I apologize, it's a very small plan. I'm glad you have copies up there. We were on the property in January, delineated the bank of the lake. As you can see, the upper plan shows existing conditions, very steep down in this area of the lake. And we have an existing house with a deck and patio and a garage. These folks, showing the 100-foot buffer zone here in yellow. Similar here, here's our proposed plan. We have the wetland boundary in blue, 100-foot buffer zone. The pink I've outlined here is the proposed erosion control barrier, which is actually already in. These folks have existing retaining walls on the property, and they were working to restore them. Brad asked them to stop, put up a barrier. They have a silt fence and a straw wattle. It's been up since he came by. And they immediately contacted Ecotech and Quinn Engineering, and they've been waiting to get this filing before you. So what we're proposing to do is to restore the retaining walls to allow for what used to be a more level sitting area. It's likely to be lawn, and it could be some pea stone in this area, which is pervious, so, and would allow for immediate stabilization. We're also proposing to replace the existing deck off the back of the property, and it's going to be enlarged by 4 feet. So the only work associated within the 30 would be probably about 4 piers, 3 or 4 piers on sonotubes. We'll have, the work is going to be mortar and stone. Chris is the stonemason, and and we'll have some steps leading down into this level area we're proposing on both sides of the house, expand the deck, and loam and seed, or potentially some pea stone in the sitting area. If you notice over in here, folks, there's an existing oak tree, quite a large tree. We've actually designed the project to make a cut. Most of this work is a cut, taking some old fill out, so we could save that tree. So that's pretty much an overview of the proposal. No work within the natural heritage priority habitat on the lake. All work was in the existing developed areas.
Martha?
I'm all set, thank you.
Ken?
I'm all set.
Chris?
No questions.
Andy?
I had a couple of minor comments, but they've already been addressed, just, extend the erosion up the side. But just one question, so you're saying the walls are mortar and stone, because the detail on the plan shows a segmental retaining wall, so.
Yeah, I think that Chris Keenan from Quinn had assumed that was going to be the case, but you are going to do mortar and stone, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you'd like to see that detail.
Yeah, we should probably just get an updated detail,
We
just
can
so.
do that, no problem. I also noticed this says Lake Quinsigamon, it's technically Flint Pond down there. We'll change that.
Okay. Other than that, I'm all set.
We'll get you a plan right over. with
Yeah, you can just
a day or
email me
two.
and one hot.
Sure, great.
The support for the deck, that's going to be just an elevated deck with, 4x4s dropping down to some concrete piers?
Yes.
And underneath is just
Open.
open. Okay. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? All right, I don't see any. You happy to close it, Andy? And then, or can you take the drawing mods, or you have to
Yeah, you can, yeah, I mean,
tomorrow?
yeah, if you just email me the plan tomorrow, I can,
Okay.
I just want to issue the order until I get it, so.
I'll pass this along to Quinn Engineering, and I think we can probably do it very quickly for you. Amy.
All right, we're gonna close the hearing then. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Does that mean we can go ahead?
They
Yeah.
have,
There's an appeal period.
they.
So, yeah, you have to wait for the order
They'll probably issue
condition.
order conditions. They have up to 21 days to issue your permit.
Need the
And it has
paper.
to be recorded.
You need the paper, and then they have an appeal, somebody could appeal too.
Yeah, 10 days from the date of issuance, there's an appeal period, which if you work within that period, you work at your own risk. So. Can't start tomorrow.
No.
No.
All right, Martha.
We have a new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Josh Kinhart of 30 Lucen Drive, Milford, Massachusetts, has filed a request for determination of applicability for the expansion of an existing deck at 3 Meadow Lane. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, June 21, 2022, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All I'm doing is.
What's your name first? Who are you?
Sorry. My name's Josh Kinhart from Milford, Mass.
Okay, and are you the,
I'm the contractor
okay,
doing the work,
yep,
and I'm here with the homeowner, Ben.
Yeah, Ben Porter, 3 Meadow Lane.
okay. All right, go ahead, Josh.
So what I'm proposing to do is to do a 9x10 addition onto the existing deck,
Yep.
which would bring the deck out to the back corner of the house. And what I need to do to meet the building requirements would be to add 2 more footings, which would be 48-inch deep, 12-inch sonotubes. And that's really about it.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Is the deck's just gonna be close to ground? I mean, it's not an elevated deck, is it?
Yes, it is.
It is elevated?
Yes, the grade drops substantially in the back.
Okay,
It's probably gonna be about 6 feet
okay,
head height under the deck on the back end.
all right,
All open underneath as well.
okay.
Yes.
And the wetland area here is the brook, that's what you're keying off of, right, for this
Yes.
plat?
Yeah, that's what.
West,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty far away from it. I don't have the scale. Do you know how far it is, Josh? 20 feet? It's, looks like it's about 40, oh, 35 feet.
Yeah.
35 feet or so. to the
Yeah.
brook
Mm-hmm.
At the closest.
Yep.
All right, just a quick question, the homeowner.
Sure.
There's a lot going on back there around the brook. There's looks like a bridge, and there's a shed on the other side, and there's another shed on the other corner near the brook on your, I guess, west side of the lot.
Okay.
Is that your shed there, or is that it's crossing the property line a
A
little?
neighbor had
That's your
put
neighbor's
that
shed?
in, yeah.
So his shed's basically on your yard?
When we got surveyed, yeah, that we had identify that, yeah.
So your shed is the one down on the opposite corner?
Yeah, that was existing when we purchased the home.
Okay.
Same as the bridge or the crossing.
All of that, so you haven't been doing anything around there?
No, those were all existing when we
Okay.
purchased the home nearly
Okay,
20 years
just
ago.
wanted to make sure. Martha, anything?
May I just ask a quick question? What's your relationship with your neighbor? How did that work out with the shed on your land?
We're very cordial. We've been neighbors for over 20 years, so I guess we'll deal with it later. But I mean, it's not a contentious thing or anything.
Okay. I might know people who would be interested in that relationship. I don't have any questions.
Yeah, we have a pretty friendly neighborhood in Meta.
Ken?
All set.
Chris?
No questions.
Andy?
Yeah, just really the existing structures that were not permitted, but have been there for a while, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other work seemed pretty benign.
Wooden bridge over 20 years old.
Yeah, no. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? Everybody's shaking their head no, so we'll close it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is an RDA, right?
Oh, wait a minute, yep, yeah, we'll close the hearing, we can vote on it right now, too, just wait a minute.
Mr.
Make a motion, Ken?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we issue a negative determination for the construction and expansion of an existing deck at 3 Meadow Lane.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're all set. You got a negative, which is good, meaning you don't have to
Okay.
file a notice of intent.
All right.
Okay?
I appreciate the
All right.
clarification.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for
You're
your time.
welcome. All right, Martha.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Stately Homes, Inc. of 31 Galere Circle, Holden, Mass., has filed a request for determination of applicability for the construction of a single-family home and associated site work at 16 Greenbrier Drive. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, June 21, 2022, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, 100 Maple Ave, Shrewsbury.
Looks like we don't have a representative here tonight.
16 Greenbrier?
All right, I guess what we could do, we've opened it. You want to just continue it to the next meeting and see if they want to come in, or?
Yeah, sure, I can reach out and,
Yeah, I guess, well, can we discuss it now that we opened it?
I think so. I mean, I had my comments on it and I emailed them to
And
the
what-
applicants.
I
They
mean,
were-
we could, yeah, we can maybe at least get the process
Oh.
rolling, and when they do show up. We just won't take a vote on it tonight. Andy, why don't you,
So I did go out to the site, and there is an existing drainage easement in the back of the property that runs pretty much down most of Greenbrier. I went out there last week, and it was pretty wet, and there was definitely some wetland species in there. So I definitely think it's a resource area. It wasn't like a dry swale. It's, got no activity in it. And then historically, we have issued order conditions for 2 adjoining properties doing work abutting that swale, so. If we're being consistent, we really should make them file a notice of intent. It's a fairly big project. It's a single-family home, so. And they didn't actually delineate any of the resource areas.
Can I ask a question?
go ahead.
Do you think there should be an NOI?
I think so. Every other project, budding properties, we
Right,
made them
right.
do an NOI.
Right.
We have one property, just put a deck on the back, and we made them file the NOIs.
Yeah,
I mean, they didn't show, we can still act on this tonight.
Yeah, we can issue a positive determination, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm of the same
Yeah.
opinion, so.
yeah,
Would save them,
Are
you're gonna do
on
that anyway.
right.
Track with that, Martha?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And there really is no wetland delineation shown on the plan to even give us a starting point on it.
No, but I mean, the swale was pretty wet, and that was,
Yeah,
so.
yep. Okay, do you want to make a motion? Chris, are you
Yeah, I'm good, yeah.
good on
I
that?
agree with you guys.
All right, let's see it. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on the request for determination of applicability filed by Stately Homes, Inc. for the construction of a single-family home and associated site work at 16 Greenbrier Drive? Okay, I don't see any. Kevin, you want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we issue a positive determination for the construction of a home at 16 Greenbrier Drive.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. First. Okay, how many did we close tonight? 3?
You did all right.
Yeah. I don't know
4.
if you want to
Wait a minute, 4,
jump.
5?
Huh? Yeah, we closed.
581 South. And then what else did
One,
we close?
Closed 5.
10 Palmetto Hill.
5.
14A Deerfield.
And South Street.
Uh,
I had 5 closed.
Yep, South Street.
South Street.
29 General Ave, right?
Yep.
And
90 Lakeshore.
90 Lakeside. Is that right, Ken?
Yep.
So we got 581 to 587. We have 10 Palmetto, we got 14A Deerfield.
Mhm.
We got 29 General.
Mhm.
We've got 90 Lakeshore,
Mhm.
and we've acted on both RDAs already.
Yep.
Okay, you want to make motions to, wait, we got to sign. We've already, yeah, you got to make the motion.
course.
We closed.
Yep. You ready?
Yep, go ahead.
I make a motion, we issue an order of conditions at 581, 587 South Street.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any special conditions other than standard?
I think standard, right?
Yeah, standard,
This
the
point?
wetland replication one, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we issue an order of conditions
That's an ANRAD, I think.
for construction of a single-family home at 10 Palmetto Hill Road.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion, we issue an order of conditions for
14A. Deerfield.
14A Deerfield Road.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion, we issue an order of conditions, 29 General Ave, and I think the condition that we had on that one was
General Ave is an ORAD, so,
oh,
Huh?
that wasn't, so we don't, what?
that was an ANRAD for General Ave, wasn't it? Is that the one you?
Can we condition it then?
Do we approve it? What do we approve it?
Had to
I mean,
approve
in the-
Yeah, we approved the
Yeah.
ANRAD, so it's just a different form.
Let's
So
see.
it's abbreviated,
Notice of resource delineation.
Okay,
so it's not, it's abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. We approve it with the condition that they remove the yard waste from the wetlands.
right.
And we can condition an ANRAD?
I don't know if
Don't
that's
know, I'll look into it,
appropriate.
I'll find out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either that or we just
If
send
we
them an
can.
email.
Yeah,
Just send them an email and say, hey, get.
I mean, because they're gonna have to come back and file, assuming there's gonna be a notice of
Yeah.
incoming formal with it,
Yeah.
so.
Okay?
But the flagging was all good.
Flagging was, yeah, we're just basically confirming the flagging
Yeah.
resource areas.
Okay. Okay, Ken's made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, there is none. All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
90 Lakeshore, right, Ken?
Yep. Lakeside or Lake Shore?
Oh, Lakeside,
Lakeside.
I'm sorry. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, it says Lake Shore there, but it's
Says
Lakeside.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did I type it in wrong?
Yeah.
I make a motion, we issue an order of condition at 90 Lakeside Drive.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I don't hear any. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We've approved already, voted on the 2 RDAs, rather.
Yep, just sign them for them.
All right. So all of these enforcement orders, Andy?
So yeah, we hopefully have some people here for the 2 Claremont Circles, Glengarry, 56 Oregon. I did check today, they haven't picked up the enforcement order, it's still sitting at the post office. And then 15 Crimson Drive is a new one for tree removal. I think the homeowners are here too, so.
Which one hadn't picked it up?
56 Oregon Ave.
Okay.
It wasn't, as of today, it wasn't, they hadn't picked up the enforcement order.
We got a little big crowd still here. What's
No enforcement.
all enforcement? How do we want to go
You
down the
can
list?
start, yeah, start at the top and work your way down, I think, so. For Claremont.
For Claremont Circle, is that, okay. Andy, we want to explain what the enforcement order is before they start in? And
Yes, let me go back and get them. It was basically, I think this is one that Brad had started for, starting some clearing for, it looks like there was some clearing for a patio area that was gonna be going in.
Okay,
Um,
so what did we say? Just cease?
We're cease and desist and then come in with a, you know, a follow-up on mitigation restoration plan, so.
Okay,
Good evening, everyone.
good evening.
My name is Sanjeev Bhattabial and my wife, Preetha Bhattabial. We are from 4 Claremont Circle.
Mhm.
So we were building a patio, a paver patio in our backyard. So after that we got this notice. And I'm not trying to make any excuse here, like obviously we did not understand the rule that time. So I came here to understand a little bit more on this notice. So what I understand is within 100 feet of wetland, it is considered as a filling, building a patio in that. And although it's my backyard, but that's what eventually I ended up doing. And I agree that that was a mistake, unintended one. We are ready to take care like any restoration that is required from our end. So we did check with contractors who did it. So they are saying we can put erosion tube around that area where we have built it. But I'm not sure that will address it. We also have a perimeter built in stones after where the whole wetland actually starts. So here we are like, his advice guide us what we need to do.
Did the patio actually go into the wetland?
Oh, no.
It was just within that 100-foot area?
Oh, right. So it is because within the 100-feet area, that's why I think we got this notice.
Triggered it.
Yeah, it is well within our boundary. And when we checked with the contractor, looks like he was not aware that wetland rule, whether it's like any approval needed or not. So far we are within like 10 feet, so within our perimeter we should be good. That's what was told to us. Obviously that's something I did not further inquire what needed to be done. But that's what we ended up doing, and here we are.
Yeah. So do you want to put this patio, still continue with this patio?
So the job was a small one. It was
Yeah.
already done before we got this notice.
Yeah.
So now I think.
You want to make a filing?
Right,
make
exactly.
To make it proper?
Yeah, I would either after the fact, because say when I was out there, it'd just been excavated, but,
Yeah.
you know, probably an after the fact filing NOI. 'Cause say
Yep.
it's all in area that's already been disturbed, so.
Okay. So you're going to have to come up and make a filing then to make this proper then? It's all, work's been done, but you have to document it so that when you sell the house, the new
Okay.
person.
So when you, sorry for our
Yeah.
limited understanding. When you
Yeah.
say filing, what does that mean?
That means you probably should hire a consultant, some engineer, a civil engineering company.
Okay.
But it's probably a notice of intent. That's the document you want to make a filing. If you go on the state website,
Okay.
you can download the application. It's a notice of intent application.
Okay.
And read through it. Most people say, once they've read through it, I need to get an engineer because you have to create a plan.
Okay.
And, then you would come through. You've sat through a number of these notices of intent.
Yes, now we get that
Yeah.
what needs to be done. Okay.
Yeah, so
basically
you
we,
understand, this is sounds like a small.
so we work with an engineer, file a notice of intent.
Right.
And then
Right.
appear like next hearing date.
Yeah.
How
The deadline is next Friday, so I don't know if you can make the filing. It'd probably be until the August one.
Next Friday.
Yeah, you won't be able to probably do it that
No.
quickly. That would be my guess. It would probably be the next month you would go for.
Okay.
In
And
our August
committee is
meeting.
okay with that if we do that on next month? Because I probably won't be able to make it by next Friday. So is it okay? Like, because this notice is kind of scary.
Oh, okay.
So
No,
that's why
no.
we're asking.
No, you're fine, you're fine. You came in, you're telling us what you're
Yeah.
doing, so no, that's.
Okay.
That's fine. You can go and get a consultant and then work out the plan and file the paperwork. You'll have to send a copy to the state DEP, Department of Environmental Protection.
Okay.
And then to us too. Okay, so
Understood.
just download the application, it'll explain what you have to do.
Perfect.
If you have any questions, give me a call.
No other questions, so we'll work from there, and
Okay,
we'll see you all again soon.
okay.
And
if
we
you
are
have
here,
questions,
back here again for a public hearing on 19th? Does it mean that?
Or no, we
You-
don't.
Next month, you
August.
probably won't be ready,
Okay, so,
because Andy has to get the documents by a certain deadline, a date.
okay.
You're not gonna be ready by then to get on next month's agenda.
And once we have it, like, we have to come to the office?
Then
and-
you'll come in for the August meeting if you get it done in time.
Understood. Sounds good.
And then you'll come up and show us your plan and tell us what you've done, and we
Try
can,
to clear it off.
if
Okay.
we think it was sufficient enough, we can approve it. If
Yeah.
not, we can tweak it a little bit.
And the filing deadline for the August one is July 28th.
July
They're
20.
all on the website, so.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is 8 Claremont Circle, is there somebody? Okay. It's a popular street today.
Yeah, we're next door neighbors.
Oh, okay.
Hi, I'm Liz Beliveau. I live at 8 Claremont Circle. So we received, Andy brought out our enforcement order to us in May. So I bought a swing set for my 2 kids, and the company recommended having like a protective layer of mineral sand and non-dyed play chips underneath it. Like, my kids are little, if the kids fell or something, that it would, it would be, I guess, safer. So I did that and put the swing set on top of it, and came to find out that we live in a my entire property is in a buffer zone. So I received the enforcement order, and here I am.
All right. How close to the wetland line does this work?
So you've been out and just took a general look. I don't think it crosses into the wetlands. If I'm being honest, I think I would rather just kind of like move the swing set and not deal with any of this at this point, But because my entire property it's in a buffer zone, even to move it to like a side yard area, like completely away from any kind of question about if there's any wetlands or anything, I would need to at least have that conversation, I think, here, because my whole house is in a buffer zone within 100 feet,
One of your options, I mean, if you did decide to just restore it to the original condition and remove it,
Yeah, I don't really have room in the backyard for the swing set, but I also, in being honest, I didn't have any idea that we lived next to wetlands. I should have known that, but I didn't. So I would like to do what's ever going to be easiest for, I hate to say this, but like most economical, but also most respectful to the land. I didn't mean to disturb anything. It's just,
Andy, can you tell us, can she relocate this on her property someplace that wouldn't be? an
I
issue?
think it's all in the buffer zone.
Yeah.
If I was to guess, yeah. I mean, the only location would be.
But if she could get it far enough
You could
away
move it,
from the
yeah.
wetland and then go for an RDA type thing.
Yeah, I just don't know where the wetland are. I mean, there is, it's funny, it's one of the few, those are the few properties, it actually says in the deed that there's a buffer zone there, so, you could move it a little bit, but you've got the road right there, so I don't know. I think the best thing would be to figure out where the wetland line is first and then go from there, because I think,
So she would have to hire a,
yeah, I
botanist,
think that would be the recommendation, at least get the line determinated.
okay.
yeah, I mean, the only other option would be if she totally wanted to do away with it.
Would be to pull it out, but I mean,
Pull it out.
it's a very nice swing set, it's
Yeah.
a shame to pull it out and move it, so I would do it after the fact. filing.
I'm just curious, if I pulled out all the fill, would, I apologize, I don't know these kind of things. If I pulled out all the fill, right now, so I did, when I got the enforcement order, Andy was helpful, and I did install 75 feet of erosion control around, I didn't personally do it, but we installed a sand wattle, like a big sandbag, 75 feet around the whole play area. There's also a secondary kind of barrier. If you look at it, there's the sand, but then there's like right under the swing set, there's like a secondary barrier, and then the play chips right under the swings. I'm wondering if I removed the sand and the play chips, could the swing set just remain and get rid of all the fill and let kind of the land kind of naturally regenerate itself, or?
Well, it depends if the swing set is actually in the wetland, what's delineated as a wetland, you can't stay. But if it were outside of the wetland line, like Andy said, probably the first thing to do would be delineate the wetland, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can share the GIS, because it'll.
And I guess.
It's hard to make that kind of a call without knowing where the wetland line is.
And I guess, my other question would be, Andy, you were at the property, the like side yard where there's kind of lawn, where my neighbor's swing set's on their side lawn, if I just moved the swing set there, originally I kind of tucked it away because had all this tree shade and it was away from the road for the kids, but if I moved it just to that side yard, we know there's not wetlands there because it's existing yard. I mean, there's landscaping there that was there prior to us moving in. Could I just move it there?
Yeah, I was trying to share on the GIS, it's not showing up. Yeah, I mean, it looks like there might be room in the front. I mean, the wetlands are fairly set back based on just the GIS.
May I ask, is the play structure, I mean, did you have to clear anything to put it in, or was there lawn underneath, or what?
There was like, to be honest, like people kind of dumped back there. There was just like leaves and sticks and, the kids played back there before anyways, you know what I mean? It was kind of like this just, I don't know, like natural area a little bit. I did, I'm not a professional, obviously. I did look. It looks that before, just from where kind of the edge of it is, there's 20 or 30 feet before we hit any water on that like little, I don't know if you know the property, it's kind of like tucked off the side of my driveway, but, so it didn't go on top of any water or any,
Yeah. It doesn't have to be, though, a wetland is not necessarily open water. It extends into the soil, and it's determined by the plants that are growing there and the color of the soil and all of that.
Okay, yeah.
What do you think, Andy? Do a wetland line?
I think, yeah, we'll get it flagged, and then we can go out and then take a look and maybe some recommendations for,
Okay.
come back.
Why
and
don't you
figure
do
it out.
that? Why don't you get a botanist, a wetland company to do the flagging? Just like you've sat through a couple of hearings
Yep.
tonight, right? You heard how critical the flagging is. That's our starting point.
You could probably.
Okay, and then we'll know what your options
Probably
are.
do it on an RDA.
Yeah, and then we could probably do it on
Yeah,
an
I'm gonna say your
RDA.
neighbor's gonna have to get the wetlands flagged anyway, so you could probably do them together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, piggyback with them,
okay.
yeah.
it probably will work out.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Okay. All right. 10 Glengarry Road.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm back. Sorry, without a plan. Michael Smiziglu, 10 Glengarry Road. We have made some progress since last time I was before you. Scott from Ecotech did flag out the wetlands, and Kevin Jarvis did put together the initial plan. I think Scott had emailed Andy about what the proposal might be, hopefully for the next meeting, maybe doing a NOI for trying to keep the existing structure there. We have to look at it. There is going to be some restoration that I have to do from what he's telling me. I don't have the exact details yet. I actually just met Scott here for the first time, but he couldn't stay, unfortunately, for this. So I'm here just letting you know that we have made some progress since last time we talked. We do have the initial plan from Jarvis, and we do have all the areas flagged out from Ecotech. So hopefully, depending on their schedules, we could get you a plan by the end of the month to present next meeting. We might miss it and have to present the following meeting, unfortunately. But that's really going to depend if they
Okay.
can get it there.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
56 Oregon Ave.
Yeah, they haven't picked up the enforcement order.
Oh, that was the one- that was the
Yeah, I
one
tracked
that-
it today just to see, and it still
Okay,
hasn't
didn't
been
pick-
picked up,
That was the
so.
one. Didn't pick up. 284 South Quinsigamon Ave.
Good evening. My name's Amara Mahmood. My husband and I are co-owners of the property on 284 South Quinsigamon Avenue. a couple of months ago, we have this space below our deck and the side yard of the property. We put a little bit of loom there, and it was during that time that Mr. Truman paid us a visit. And in the first week of May, we put down seed to grow some grass, and then on the 18th of May, which was roughly almost 2 weeks after putting down the seed, we received this rather scary notice in the mail. And I called Mr. Truman at that point to understand what we had done and what needed to be done next, and he was kind enough to explain next steps. So immediately after that, we placed an erosion control barrier, and we ceased and desisted, but the seed was already down at that point. The erosion control fence was placed, and I think Mr. Truman was able to come in a couple of days prior to personally verify that as well. We now have grass in the area, and I want to stress that the biological integrity of the wetlands, I think, is preserved. The plantation, the vegetation, the flora and fauna appear to be thriving. Unfortunately, the two witnesses I brought with myself to testify for all the bunny, squirrel, ducks, turtle sightings are too tired at this point to give their statements. But we basically just have, grass, 100% American, not exotic, non-threatening, hopefully.
And we water it every week.
I think
so
this was just a disturbance for,
So yeah, this is that condo that's onto, just behind Stoneham Road. So yeah, they basically just put loam and seed down, but I mean, it was right up into the wetland, and maybe into the wetland, it was hard to tell. So but obviously, by the time I got out there last week, it was already, the grass was
so
already
there was fill brought in, foaming.
Yeah, there was
so
definitely
loam,
fill brought
so
in. I
that
mean, yeah, there was fill around the trees, and there was definitely fill brought in. It's just loam and seed, so.
So what do you recommend here on this, to remove loam? Do you think that's gonna be
Again, I mean, we
necessary?
should probably figure out where that, because there is that little inlet to the lake right there, so we should probably figure out where the wetland line is and go from there.
All right.
I mean, there's no tree removals or any trash, but there's loam and seeded right up to the edge of the wetland, so.
Basically, what we did was we put the loam in, and we did the hydro seeding on it.
Yeah.
So it's like wetland is there, but it's not actually going into the wetland.
Well, we don't know that because we don't.
Yeah, it's not just based on the wet soil. They check the soils to see if it's soils themselves
Yeah.
are hydric.
So I guess you've heard what we told some of these other folks, that we really need a starting point, and that would be the wetland flag to be installed, so we can compare that against your loaming and seeding. And if it's gone beyond the wetland flagging, then we have to remove some stuff. Okay?
Okay.
But until we have that wetland flag line, we won't know what to tell you to do.
Okay.
Okay, but that's good that you stabilized it. I mean, that's important. We don't want it to be washing off.
Yeah, there's no hardscaping of any kind.
No, I know.
It is just grass.
I know.
Okay.
In a little fill.
A very small one.
Okay. All right, so you understand then with the flagging then.
So is this applying for a permit now after the fact, or is this just starting with identifying?
You're just
where
starting the process, so why don't you get the flagging done, get a plan, and bring the plan in front of us at this point. I mean, we'll put you on the agenda again to do an update. And if you present the plan, then we can look at it.
Okay.
And then we can give you some guidance as to whether you have to file for a permit or whether we can do a request for a determination of applicability type thing.
Okay.
There's a couple options that can occur once we know
Okay.
where the wetland line is.
Great.
But it's the plan for what they've already done.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we put more kids to sleep tonight.
Everything.
Yeah, I know. All right, we have one
Crimson Drive. So, yeah, this is a new one. I've just been out to the site. We haven't actually issued an enforcement order, but, again, I think the homeowners here, we got a call that, he was cutting down some trees out there and didn't realize there was a wetland in the back, so he just dropped the trees where they are and has not done any more, but I'm sure he's...
Tree cutting.
Yeah, so I'm the new owner.
Yep.
We just moved this week, actually, into the house. We purchased the house.
What's your name, please?
Siva. Yeah. So, so I didn't know there was wetland because it was a private sale, so it was not on public or anything. So it was between me and the seller. So they didn't tell me it was a wetland or anything. And I saw that the previous tree cutting that happened, I showed it to Andy too. There were stumps that were, a couple of stumps, and there's a rodent tree. They removed that half part of that. So I thought, I could cut the trees because the inspection guy, when the inspection said that, I see the branches falling off on the house. So he said, 2 small kids, just cut the trees. So I really didn't know that it was a wetland with the previous tree cutting. So we had a couple, I got quotes from a couple of people in Shrewsbury. Nobody told me those wetlands. And we started cutting the trees in the morning, and one of the neighbors came and said, hey, you're not supposed to cut the trees. And she came actually after all the trees were cut. Yeah. So at that point, there were three trees and half a tree that was already rotten, I think, half rotten kind of tree. So it's basically 3.5 trees were cut down. And at that point, the neighbor said, hey, the town likes to, if you, whatever happened, just leave everything. Don't remove the stumps. Leave whatever you cut the trees, just leave there in the wetlands. So we just stopped everything. And then I called Andy on the same day, but somebody already called Andy, I guess probably the same neighbor, I'm not sure, but yeah. And then he came down and took a look at what really happened. So I did hire a wetland scientist already.
Oh, okay.
Because I started Googling. We don't know anything about wetlands, so we started looking about, this species, as Martha was talking about. So we already hired the wetland scientist. He was supposed to be coming in maybe this week or next, Scott, to flag the lines. And probably a remediation plan. I'm pretty sure if it's a wetland, it's a remediation plan. Come with the plan and submit to you guys probably.
Perfect.
I think at this point it's going to be bushes, but because of that, the neighbors scared us, so we actually canceled our vacation for the Memorial Day. So this happened on the same week of Memorial Day weekend, and she scared us like, you are in big trouble. And we were the new owners. My wife was like so mad that I told you not to cut the trees and stuff, and we had a big fight and stuff. But anyway, at this point, I'm just waiting for Scott to come down and flag those.
Okay.
And then submit a plan for remediation.
It'll work out. You'll be fine.
That's
Don't
good.
worry.
That's
It'll
what I
be
tried to
fine.
tell him.
It'll be fine.
Listen to your wife.
I'm pretty sure she's watching. Yeah.
It'll work out.
Okay,
So I don't
sounds
think
like-
I will be ready for July.
Yeah.
I'm thinking August, and then I'm pretty sure the remediation would be plant new trees and bushes, which we'll submit that here in August.
Perfect.
Fair enough.
Good.
All
Thanks
good.
for the update.
Yep. Hopefully I can go on vacation on July 4th, I guess, so we'll go. But anyway,
All right.
thank you so much.
Thank
Yep,
you.
you're welcome.
So Andy, one of the things he told me was, I didn't get the notice in.
Yeah, I will get it to you, so.
Oh, okay, so I was waiting.
I didn't have a chance to get to it, so.
Thanks. Have a good day, guys.
Good night. All right, the next item is to discuss a permit extension request. And Andy, why don't you give us the...
Yeah, so I got a request end of last week for 12 Russell Ave. I guess the order was issued in 2019. It's been extended once, and I guess they were not quite ready, and they were looking for an extension. And as I was filling out the paperwork, I realized that the order actually expired on June 19th, so
They missed it.
they missed it, so we can't actually extend it. Because we ran into this issue on another project where they just missed it by a couple of days, and we said, well, we can't do anything, so.
We have to deny their request.
Yep.
We have to vote on that, or do we have?
I don't think so, no. I just won't issue it, and they'll have to file a new order just to
Okay.
close out whatever. I mean, there's not a lot left. I mean, the house is built. It looked pretty substantial, but they said they still have a little bit left of work to do,
Okay.
so.
And moving on to is this our last item?
Yeah, just a couple of certificate of compliance.
Yeah. Discuss sign certificates of compliance. We have a couple.
Yeah, 24 Melody Lane came in a few weeks ago, and then I got another one again. They're closing the next couple of weeks for 27 Oak Ridge, so they submitted the necessary applications and the forms from the engineer, so I think we're all set at this point.
Did those go through with our signing of?
No, I got them right here.
You got them right there?
Yep.
Okay. Do we want to put off discussing our 2002 policy requirements?
I'm
Yes.
assuming probably, yeah.
I
Please.
think I'm
Please do.
tuckered out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Please do.
Okay, so we'll
It's
push that
22,
one.
2022, right?
No, well, no,
The
that's,
original was-
that's,
Oh,
That's
I
when we
got you.
did,
I
yeah,
understand.
20 years ago.
Okay, I understand.
At least a little refreshing. And then just the last thing, we discussed this at the last meeting, 20 Kingston, that was a land swap that we said no, but we didn't actually vote on
No.
to reject it.
oh, okay.
I realized that.
Someone want to make a motion to deny the land swap?
No, that's the conservation land?
Yeah, that's the one, the conservation land.
Yes, 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 that's.
Yeah, I can give you a recap if you don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have an encroachment on town property, and
Right.
they have another parcel next to it. They wanted to swap, but it's, A, it's legislatively not possible to do it, and B, I don't think it's a good swap anyway.
So I make a motion that we do not, we vote not to request the land swap, or how do we?
We don't approve.
We don't approve the land swap request at
Second.
26
Oh.
Kingston.
And we have a second from Martha, and is there any discussion? I don't hear any, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all I got.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.